Good afternoon to all of you, grade 6. Today we are going to learn a new lesson. Our lesson is about gravity and motion. Our lesson's page is a new module we are using astronomy and space, and is page 18. In this lesson, we are going to learn about what is gravity, what factors affect gravity, and what keeps objects in orbits. We have studied last week the solar system, and we know the planets revolving around the sun in a fixed object. In this lesson, we are going to explain why these planets do not leave their orbits. Okay, first, what is gravity? When we say gravity, you remember that gravity is the force that pull object. But gravity is not only pulling object, but also it can make object move. For example, we said if something is orbiting around the sun like Venus, what makes Venus orbiting? The word orbiting means it's in a motion. So gravity does not pull him towards the sun, but causes that he is moving, like a satellite, Nilesat or Arabsat, which is revolving around Earth. What makes him revolving in a fixed orbit? It's also gravity. So gravity is not only a pulling, but also it can make object motion or change their direction or keep their direction. So how does a planet's gravity change? The path of space probe. Probe is a shuttle or a spaceship. The planet's gravity pulls the space probe into a new direction. It can change its direction. So this is gravity. Gravity can change the probe path. Engineers plan space mission to take advantage of these gravity assists. A gravity assist can shorten the probe's interplanetary trip by many years. The diagram shows how the probe Voyager 2 used gravity assist to visit all 4 outer planets. Moving to the next page, what is gravity? Newton hypothesized that the force that pulls an apple to the ground also pulls the moon towards Earth, keeping it in orbit. This force called gravity. Gravity attracts all objects towards each other. Newton's laws of universal gravitation states that every object in the universe attracts every other object. The strength of the force of gravity between the two objects depends on two factors. Number one, the product of their masses, multiplying their masses together. This is directly proportional. As the masses increase, the attraction force will increase. Number two, the distance or the square of the distance between them, and this is inversely proportional. While the distance is increased, the attraction force or gravitational force between the two objects will decrease. The distance increase, so the attraction force decrease. Now we know gravity. What is mass and weight? We have studied mass before is the amount of matter in an object. Because Earth is a huge mass, it exerts much greater force on you. So you moved towards Earth, but you have the same force between you and Earth. The attraction force between you and Earth is weight. So Earth exert force on you, which is your weight. And you also exert a force on the Earth, which is your weight also. But your weight is not enough or your mass is small, so you moved towards Earth, not vice versa. The Earth cannot move towards you. So this is because the moon has less mass than Earth, so the pull of moon's gravity on you would also be less. So as the mass increase, the gravity increase. As the mass increase, the gravity increase, and also the weight will increase because weight is depending on gravity. Gravity and distance. We can see in this figure, the gravity between these two objects are greater than those because those are very small. But this one is very less because they are small and also the distance is between them is so large. And as we said, the gravity depends on both distance and the mass of the objects. So I got that. The mass of the objects and the distance between them, they are the two factors that are affecting the gravity or the attraction force between any two objects. Going to the next page, here we are speaking about inertia force. What keeps object in orbits? While you are in your car and your car suddenly starts to move, you will rush forward or backward. But if your car is in motion and stopped suddenly, you will rush forward. This is because a force. This force is called inertia force. Inertia force is the tendency of an object to resist a change on motion. Not only in motion, even in direction. If your car changes direction directly, your body will stay at the same direction. You feel the effect of inertia every day. When you are in riding a car and stop suddenly and keep moving forward if you didn't have a seat belt. So we advise all of you to fasten your seat belt because it's more safe for you. The inertia could cause you to bump into the car windshield or the seat in front of you. The more mass an object has, the greater inertia. So inertia also depends on mass. As the mass increases, the inertia will increase. An object is with greater inertia is more difficult to start or stop. If you have a heavy car, you cannot starting the motion of the car need more energy than if it's a bicycle. The bicycle can move need less energy than the car. Isaac Newton stated his idea about inertia in a scientific law, which is Newton's first law of motion. Says that an object at rest will stay at rest, it will not move. Anything, if you leave anything on your table and you travel the approach for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, after coming back, you will find it without any change because if there is no external force effect on it, it will stay at rest, it will keep its state. Okay, with a constant speed. What if we lift something in the space moving, it will still moving with a constant speed and direction. If there is no force acted, no outsider force acted in it. But why when you throw anything towards your friend, it will stop because there is force like friction force affecting on it of air, the air resistance, and the gravity also. These two forces affect anything you throw towards anyone and keep it slow down slightly until it stops. By this, we come to the end of the part of the book. Now I have a part of summarizing what we have studied. Object in space, I will share you first this summary of the book. Yes. Objects in space are affected by different forces. A force is a push or a pull. Like gravity, we said gravity is a pull, but it can make object move. A force called gravity attracts all objects towards each other. Sir Isaac Newton's law of universal gravitation states that every object in the universe attracts every other object. The strength of the force of gravity between two objects depends on two factors: the mass of the object and the distance between them. What is mass? Mass is the amount of matter in an object. Because Earth is too massive, it exerts a much greater force on the moon or on you than the book does. The book you are holding in your hand and your body. The measure of the force of gravity on an object is called weight. So mass is the amount of matter in an object, while weight is the measure of gravity on an object. An object's weight can change depending on its location. We said if the moon have lazier than Earth, so Earth have more gravity than the moon. So as the mass increase of the object, it attracts much. So the weight is the gravity of an object, is the force of gravity that exerted on an object. So it will different from a planet to a planet, and also of the it depends on the distance between the object and the planet itself. On the moon, you would weight about 1/6. It's 1/6 of much of the Earth. That's because the moon has less mass than Earth. So the pull of the moon gravity on you would also less. It will be actually 1/6 of your weight. The force of gravity between two objects decreases rapidly as distance between the objects increase. If the distance doubles, the force of gravity decreases to 1/4. because the distance is square. While we are using the universal law of gravity, we make the distance square by multiplying it by itself. By this, we come to the end of our part today. Thank you and goodbye, grade 6.